Is that my welcome? Is that my... Ah. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're gonna get me muddy. You're gonna get me muddy. Come here. High five. Okay, come on. Come on. In. Come in. Come in. Hey guys, today is April 6th, and April 6th is actually Harry Houdini's birthday. Well, it is and it isn't. Let me explain. His actual birthday was on March 24th, 1874, and he was born in Hungary. His father was a rabbi, and his mother was his father's second wife, okay? He actually had two birthdays, March 24th and April 6th. Now, how did he have two birthdays? Well, you see, that's where it gets a little tricky. Because when they switched calendars from the Gregorian to the Julian, several days in the year were lost. So some people had actually two birthdays. But anyway, Houdini always celebrated his birthday on April 6th. And the reason why can be found in the original Houdini scrapbook. He's writing a letter to his brother. There we go. Oh, and you can see it was on November 22nd. 1913. And in it he says, "When shall I celebrate mine? Always April 6th. It hurts me to think that I can't talk it over with darling mother," because she had recently died. "And as she always wrote me on April 6th, that will be my adopted birth date." This is a really neat book. This was written by Walter Gibson. And most of the stuff in here came from Gibson's collection. I mean, wait till you see, this is amazing. He's got like all these different photos. He was friends with Houdini and actually helped him write some of the books and articles as a ghostwriter. But here we have some different challenges, hundreds and hundreds of these things. And Walter Gibson was one of the greatest writers of the 20th century because he also wrote the entire Shadow series. They said that Gibson would write thousands and thousands of words every day. I mean, this guy, the books, magazine article. He did crossword puzzles for newspapers. This guy wrote like you would millions and millions of words. This is actually Houdini, a good shot of Houdini's brother. And this is when Houdini escaped from the Boston jail in 1906, and I actually was in that cell. He died in 1926. It took a good 50 years for a research committee to find his actual birth certificate from Hungary. See, a lot of the records were destroyed during World War II, and it was really difficult to find. But they did find out that he actually was born in Budapest on March 24th, 1874. Here's a great shot of him from the Sphinx magazine. This was on the 10th anniversary of his death, and that's him with his wife in front of the Metamorphosis trunk. I actually do this illusion. You can look, I have a video of it when I was in the baseball game. There's a great picture of him there. His brother's name was Theodore. His nickname was Dash, but professionally he was known as Hardin. He was also an escape artist and a magician, and he was Houdini's younger brother. I don't have any Houdini autographs, but I do have one of his brothers. I know it's a bummer with that stain there, but this was the inside of a pitch book that Houdini would sell. It's interesting to note that after Houdini died, Hardin would sign his autograph as brother of Houdini. It says, "Cordially yours, Theo Hardin, brother of Houdini." Okay, yeah, it's got a big stain on there, but what can you do? Now, I don't have any Houdini autographs yet, but I do have an actual padlock that he owned, and the provenance of this is indisputable. Here it is. This was actually owned by Houdini. Okay. I also have some other items that belong to him. Most notably, several envelopes sent to him and sent by him. At the end of the video, I'll be showing you some of my collection of Houdini stuff. It's just the tip of the iceberg because there's a ton of it. You'll be able to see the bookshelves with all the Houdini books. I also have most of the magazines that he produced He wrote and edited pretty much every first edition to every book he ever wrote. Now it's going to be glary, but this is an envelope sent to him when he was performing at Keith's Theater in Philadelphia. And there's all kinds of scribbles on the back. I can't really authenticate that these are in his hand, but I do know that he opened this envelope because it was open, so he actually held that. And here's another one. It just says Mr. Houdini. And inside this one, somebody sent him some interesting articles on ancient locks. Clipped out some newspaper articles and whatnot and said, you know, I know you'll be interested in this. Here's another one from 1924, just 2 years before he died. There we go. He wrote literally thousands and thousands of letters and received even more. This he sent to a very famous magician named Will Goldston, who started the London Magic Circle, and he was a very prolific author. This guy wrote dozens of books on magic and magicians, and that's when he lived in London. And it came from Houdini's address, 278 up in Harlem. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that today, April 6th, is Houdini's birthday, and there's something else interesting about today. When World War I broke out, he was very ashamed of the fact that he taught German pilots how to fly years earlier, and his chief assistant actually was called back into the military to fight in the Austrian army. So Houdini tried to do anything he could to prove that he was the most patriotic of all Americans. And April 6th is actually the day that the United States declared war on Germany in World War I. So I'm sure that he was kind of proud of that. There was an awful lot of anti-German sentiment in the United States at that time. My own grandmother, who came from Austria, she was actually on a watch list from the what was the FBI, I guess, back then. The government was watching everybody of German descent, and all of her neighbors got together and said, you know, this woman is as patriotic as you can get. You know, she came here before the war, and she had a huge garden that she used to feed people with in the neighborhood. It was really tough times back then, you know, around 1914, 1918. As a matter of fact, people didn't call sauerkraut during World War I. It was called Liberty cabbage. You know, just another useless bit of information in my head. Now, what I would love to do would be to meet somebody who actually saw him perform. If anybody out there has any relatives or grandparents that are, you know, people are living to past 100 now. If you know anybody that remembered seeing him at all, please, please leave it in the comment section for me. I'd love to just hear firsthand what it was like to see one of his performances. We do have people that wrote about it over the years and film of some of his performances, but it's just not quite the same as actually talking to somebody who was there and who saw him. That would be so freaking cool. So anyway, happy birthday, Harry. We miss you, and thanks for everything.